All right, Sam, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, André. How are things?
Not too bad. We have a very special guest today. It's a
Are
very
they always special?
episode,
Are they always very special?
They are always special. That's
Yeah.
the thing. But I feel like today, because it's an artiste.
It is an artiste,
it's
yes.
so exciting.
It is
so much for
exciting.
me.
Thank
Yes.
you.
We have Cali Rivlin.
Hello.
Cali, do you know what? Let's just go straight into it. Tell us about you. Tell us about your artistry, your music.
Okay.
And how you got into it. Where does that all come from?
I was born, I was raised, the whole thing.
Brilliant.
All of it. Walk us through it. Okay. I don't know how much time we have. It's going to be an epic docu-series of a Netflix special.
This is episode 1 of 10. Got to start somewhere.
Episode 1. Okay, so basically I'm an artist. I'm a singer, a musician, I'm a pianist. I write my own stuff. I do a lot of jazz. I'm a vocal coach. So music, basically. I'm a musician, and my main bag is and always has been music. And I love doing that. I'm originally from Israel, but I, traveled a lot, and I lived in a lot of different places. In the last, I'd say 14 years on and off, I've been in Britain. So very much settled here in the UK, and I spent a lot of time in London. And that was great. Love London. And then after that, I wanted to move into a more countryside scenario. So now I'm in West Sussex, which is kind of how we met.
Yes.
Yeah, vicariously through that.
We West Sussex.
Gig.
And we met.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
West Sussex.
Exactly. Did you just make up a verb?
Hey, it's a thing now.
It's a thing now. It is a thing now. So I wanted like a little bit of countryside vibes because, London was just getting a little bit ridiculous. And I thought, you know what? I never considered going anywhere else. I always knew like London. I was like, it was so obsessed and so, goal-oriented with that because I knew that that's where a lot of the music I love was made.
Yeah.
Great musical community. I went to music college and in London and the whole thing. And it's just been like something that I was always striving towards. And I'm like, then later on got an artist visa, which is a whole other segment we'll get to. That's like finding a unicorn inside a rainbow, inside a pot of gold, led to by a treasure of like a Caribbean map with pirates. It's really something. So before all that, I always knew like, okay, London and the UK was going to be my thing. I was going to end up here, but I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. But, I just thought you go to where the thing you love is made or being made, and you just stick it out and see what you can make happen. So after years in London and really like going forward with a lot of, just lots of different music nights, gigs, a lot of community-oriented sort of events and jam nights and da-da-da. I kind of had enough of that for a bit. And also the rent was getting ridiculous. And I hated what I was getting for it. I was like, you guys are taking the piss. This is just an absolute joke. You walk into places, everything's falling apart, and they're like, £900 a month. Like, for what? There's not even a kitchen table. I can't even, where am I supposed to eat? They're like, oh, you can eat in your room. I'm like, holding eating like, I'm an adult. What? Then I was like, I put my foot down and I went, I think it's time for a different place. So then I knew a bunch of people in West Sussex. I thought, okay, let me try that for a while. I had never lived in the countryside before. And it was an interesting adjusting period where I was like, wow, what do you do out here? Like, what do people do? And then I found out what people do, and like, pub lunches and, countryside walks with dogs and things, and everything shuts at like 4 p.m. and
it's a different life.
That's what I'm doing wrong. I don't do any of that here. This is the thing. I don't do any of that. I should. Yeah.
You can.
Buying a dog, taking it out for walks, end up in a pub.
Yeah.
It's the life.
That sounds incredible.
It's our life. It's our life. It's not necessarily my life either, but I like the countryside vibes. Like I live right next to a bunch of like horses and, dogs, and I got nice neighbors, and I live very out in the sticks. So when people come to see me, I think they are surprised. They're like, oh, okay. Like,
this is where you live.
This is where you live, or are you going to murder me? Like, will you murder me and bury me in the backyard?
Yeah, there's cameras here as witnesses. Just
just to go on record, I have not till this day murdered anyone on my property or buried it there. Although don't go looking.
Don't go looking for it. No need for that. So you say you kind of got tired of the grind of London.
Yeah.
Noise, I guess.
Yeah.
So moving out then into Sussex and carrying on music wise.
Yeah.
Where's that taking you? Where have you got to?
So many places. Okay. So what I decided to do was, first of all, I write my own music as well, but I released an album over 10 years ago, and I never released it in the way that I wanted to release it. I had a whole plan of action on how to do it, and I was sort of between Israel and England for a very long time. I was kind of doing the rounds of doing both those things. And it was hard because you can't really stick it out. If you're not consistent and on it, it's difficult to do. And so I never released it in the way that I wanted to. And so I then, like maybe 2 years ago, started writing, well, more than that. I started writing new material. And then about 2 years ago, I started recording an EP that I'm very happy with, but I need to finish that. So my plan for now is to finish recording it. Yeah. There was a pandemic along the way. War, famine, 10, like it was just everything that you could possibly imagine happened during this time. And so it's been real, shall we say. It's been very real. But like music, if you're an artist and you have the music within you, you always want to give that to other people, and you always want that kind of through line to make sense in your work. If you kind of get my drift, like you want to have something where you have a statement, you have a piece, you have a point of view. You don't want to just write songs because they sound like something that might sell. I'm allergic to that. Like I am allergic to it. And I would say, I can't swear now, but okay. I would say that music today probably is made mostly by people who are just allergic to music.
How dare you? Sorry, no, yeah.
The truth. It's what it is. You take me to court on that one, I'll battle you out. That's what it is. Because a lot of the time, it's so predictable. You could tell me the next chord progression. You could tell me the next word they're going to say. It's so predictable.
Yeah.
It's so whatever. And I'm not talking about because it's a certain genre or whatever, but because of the way things are structured, or people want to play it safe, artists, along with social media platforms, along with the big record labels, they want to play it safe. They want to sell something that they know that works. And if your music isn't like that, then you're going to, struggle a little bit until you find your niche. You're going to find your audience. And if that happens to take, something organic, happens to thrive out of that, cool. But if that doesn't happen, you're going to forever be playing to 10 people or in a very limited niche. And so for me now with my music is what I want to do. Like continue to write my own stuff and record it. And my material sounds like, I'd say a combination of like, the vibe is Kate Bush, Tori Amos, London Grammar style, if I will. So it's kind of like more cinematic, inspirational piano music with songs, with songwriting and singing that's like quite soulful. That's how I would describe it.
Okay, and it's interesting you say. I mean, your point of view around, as I say, music today is interesting in the sense that it fulfills a function, right? Like I personally feel
it's shite. It's shit.
There you go. Fine. Yeah. So that is the function it fulfills for some. But it basically caters to, like you say, there are different audiences, right? So different record labels and things want things to sell. Of course they do. But I feel like for me it's just a function of what it is. And therefore actually it makes things that you do or the mindset that you have actually all the more special for it. Otherwise, wouldn't everything still just be a cacophony? Like if everyone was doing the way that you were doing it versus everyone doing it the way others were doing it, you would miss out on various functions that people need. Like people just kind of want to get down and dirty with the 3 chord progressions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Some. Hey man, if I'm just chilling out, I don't want to have to think too hard about what I'm listening to. At the same time, when I want to think hard about what I want to listen to, I want to have that moment. Yeah. I want to feel something from that.
Yeah, and also I'm aware that a lot of young people, they listen to music, and I think I'm quite lucky that I got to grow up at a time where there was so much music that was very inspirational, special, that music that is timeless, stood the test of time really, not just like, oh, okay, whatever. some people might hold the 80s in a very special light, or the 90s. I hold the 90s in a very special light because I think a lot of music from there is amazing. A lot of music from the 80s didn't stand the test of time. When you hear it now, it's very dated. It's a little cringe. Some of it is like amazing classics and stuff, for sure. It holds its own space. I used to hate 80s, but now I'm kind of like grown into it. And also I have like, quite lucky that a lot of my students bring music to me that I probably wouldn't have gotten around to. From all genres, all decades, all ages. So I think I love that. And I'm sort of more familiar now with a lot of music. But across the span of maybe the last decade, I've warmed up to the 80s, but 90s are like my jam. I just think there's so many amazing things in it. And I grew up on a lot of grunge and rock and metal.
Brilliant.
And that's the thing.
Hometown,
that's the
man.
spot.
Hometown.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
it.
And like Chris Cornell's one of my favorite artists. And so like Chris Cornell and Jeff Buckley and all this stuff, I'm thinking, and Tori Amos, who's my favorite. And I think like that music stands the test of time. There's something unique and special about it. When you hear it, you don't necessarily know what era it was made in. And I love that. I think it communicates something really real. And if I was a young person, I'd want something like that to open my musical chakras and my mind. There are moments in time that I can think back to when I heard something that was really real. And it just, I don't know, unlocked something in me. Like, woke me up to like, whoa, I'll never forget this. You want to hear a story? Just like a moment in time where I first listened to Jeff Buckley. And I was in London, actually. And I was in some hostel because I was pretty broke. And I was just visiting for like a week or something. I was in this hostel and there was a staff recommendation section. When like you used to have proper record stores. This was a long time ago because I'm very old. And then there was like staff recommendation section, right? And I'd never heard of Jeff Buckley. I don't know, never encountered him. And Grace was on that shelf. And I thought, okay, let me check it out. Take it into hospital. I put it in my Discman. I put my headphones in. Hold
Life was simpler back then.
That I don't miss. I'm cool with like having all the music in my palm. I'm like, okay, there's other reasons why that's complicated, but for that reason that you can have all the music, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But I played it and I remember just like being hit in the face by this wall of sound that I just had never heard anything like it. And I thought, what is this? I didn't have words for it, even for the experience. But, I don't know if you could clear the rights for it, but when you hear like the beginning of this like mojo pin, ooh, and it starts with this beautiful thing and you're like, it's like someone shot you in the heart. It's so good. And so I would like for other people to have like that generation, that spiritual musical wealth that I feel music maybe in its prime and in a more acceptable mainstream way used to have. It's not that all music is bad today. I'm not saying that, and I don't have like that kind of like a pretense or the hubris to say that. What I'm saying is a lot of the stuff in the mainstream is aimed at and made in a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's just not for the soul. It's in order to like, how can I make it to number one? But number ones don't mean what they used to because it's like a commodity. It's like, okay, well, they're number one and tomorrow is going to be this whatever. And it's all about numbers and it's not really about that kind of lasting connection. I think you need time to like be able to measure back and say, oh, that was a cultural impact. That was a moment. Like Oasis is having a moment now, what I just mentioned. I've been obsessed with the Oasis reunion and Richard Ashcroft. It's one of my favorite singer-songwriters of all time. And I've been obsessing over them hardcore. If anyone out there listening and has a ticket, I want one.
I might have one.
My big birthday coming up. Coming up real soon, and I really want one. We'll sell my arm and a kidney to get one.
Well, it's good to know. Good to know. Yes.
Are you in the market for a kidney?
Well, someone might be.
Well,
I can sell it on.
It's true. So we're doing black market deals here.
Wow. I mean, that sounds so interesting. I completely see. I'm part of that group where I don't listen to mainstream stuff. I just can't identify with it. And I feel sorry for the generation that's now going through. I was going through like 15 years ago, like the teenage years, where you could go into several different artists, and you'd come across new artists, and you'd go into a shop and say, oh, I like the look of that album cover, and you'd buy it because of that. I feel like nowadays, because everything is on streaming, or you've got so much access to everything, and this is not just with music, this is with TV shows, Netflix, everything.
It's a bit overwhelming.
That's it. You just get into a point where it's like, either the algorithm knows you so well that it just recommends you piles of utter rubbish, or but you don't have a second choice. It's not like you can walk into a shop and just go and look through the CDs and get that experience.
You'd have to work harder to get into other experiences that life might not naturally throw your way. Yes, the algorithm is very much shaping our lives, or to have conversations with people who disagree with you, about whatever, about music, about countries, about the weather, about politics, about religion, about whatever it is. There's so many topics, and things are considered now taboo, or people don't want to get into it because of the comment section culture, and people, would say things, including a lot about music, in a way they would criticize in a way that they would never have if it weren't for the culture that it is today. And I somewhat, maybe not a popular point, but I think I somewhat blame reality TV for this, and particularly reality TV music shows, because it used to be that artists are certain members of society we are slightly separate, because you are meant to represent the time that you're in, and in order to do that, you have to live your own life and have your own experiences, but you also need some kind of external viewpoint. Otherwise, it's very difficult to reflect something if you don't have any kind of external viewpoint on it. And I think that is the artist's job. It's your duty. If you can do it, you should do it. You need to do it if you have the ability to do it in a large scale. And if you do have that ability, and you go off to, I don't know, work in a shop or whatever, pick out apples, I mean, that's nice, but it's like, in a way, you're kind of squandering that talent, because people need it. We need art. And that's not to say just music. Art can be so many different things, and how we live life, and how we design, how we cook, how we live life. It's a lot of things. Otherwise, we'd all be living in, gray boxes of, nothingness, and just drinking water and eating stale bread. But that's a very boring life. Tuesday.
Recently, I've been actually having the opportunity to work together with younger people, younger than me.
How old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay.
So, and I've dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
And whilst most of them are into mainstream music, I also believe that if you really have that in you, you will actively search for that different message, for that different approach to music creation. So in a way, whilst we are being bombarded by all this same stuff on a daily basis, I feel like if there are people out there that will always look out for the odd, what is not in the mainstream, which is really, I think it's really good to feel that way, because otherwise you feel like everything we just lost now, because this is all we being fed, and what we're being fed is mainstream. And we kind of, if we want to showcase, when we look back in time at what music used to do for society and what it's done, which I'm sure you guys both agree, it's like, it had a purpose, it had a message. Music started revolutions, music informed people, and I feel like nowadays there's none of that.
You're right, it's about the message. I really feel that very strongly. I remember what I wanted to say about reality TV, basically. So, early 2000s, I suppose, is when you had The Real World and stuff on MTV, and then you had the Osborne family and da-da. But then there was a particular shift after all these X Factor shows, American Idol, that kind of thing. When that kicked in, I could see a real shift over time for people's viewpoint on what artists should be doing, how they're able to or allowed to, quote unquote, criticize them right in their face. Now, it always was the case that you get criticized as an artist because you're putting yourself out there. Of course, when you put yourself out there, you're increasing the chances that people will like what you do, but also that they won't. And then you're more known, so they'll let you know. And that's fine. That's part of the rules of the game. That's okay. But you are not in the same level as the artist. I'm, not in the same level as a Bob Dylan or as a whatever. Even if I am a musician and someone who's never made music in their lives or never written a song, you're not in the same level. You're not coming from the same place. So to feel like you are, you can say I like it or I don't like it. But to be so visceral and to write awful, hurtful things in the comment section that have nothing to do with nothing, I feel is so derogatory and so making less of music and art and what that's meant to do. Not just because it's mean, but because it will stop other people from wanting to do it, from going for it. It'll stop the artists from actually doing it, because you end up in a place where you're so misunderstood. Before you've even started, maybe, you kind of go, oh, well, what's the point? Why am I doing this? Because it'll get so misconstrued and read into, and people will pick apart this thing. I'll watch sometimes interviews with people or performances that I take one thing from it, and I'll watch some of the comments. I'm like, how was that your takeaway? Were we watching the same thing? Or exactly, people who, I'm like, how did you even find something to be offended by when there's a video of a cute puppy and a baby? And I'm like, how did you even manage to find something offensive about it? I don't know. But I think those shows created a cultural shift where now you're standing in the same par as like the artist, or you're on par with the artist, and now you get to criticize them in a way that you wouldn't have. And I'm like thinking, you shouldn't be allowed to criticize the artist to their face in such a public way. So like if let's say you're Madonna and you have a bad night, you have a bad gig, you don't then have 3 judges on a stage criticizing you in front of a whole audience of people. That's not what happens, right? People can like it, they can not like it. They'll vote with their feet, they'll vote with their pocket. They'll choose to tune into what you're selling, what you're offering, or not. But that level of kind of like, if I just did a song in front of you and now you're going to stand here and there's an audience there and they're going to criticize me for 10 minutes, and that's going to go on national media, it just creates a very skewed point of like what artists are and what our role is in a society. So this is a kind of a long ramble, but that's essentially, people ask me sometimes, and especially when those shows were like all the rage, why I wouldn't go. And I would get poached a lot to do it. People would come in for my shows and like would want me to go, and would try to really go, oh, we'll get you a special audition, we'll da-da-da. There were a lot of headhunters who were very insistent, and I was like, absolutely not. Because I didn't like what those shows represented, and they were taking the piss, and they were very exploitive of artists. I know that firsthand because I had so many friends who went. And I think today artists have, savvied up, right? So I've made up an expression now, but they've become a lot more savvy with the shows, and they're using them as much as the show's using them. So it's kind of.
Do you think the idea of being an artist has shifted as well? As in, like, the people that go onto those shows think they are an artist, but actually, are they? And I know this might come across as really rude and awful, but I just don't think the idea today of what an artist is the same idea of what an artist used to be.
I agree.
20 years ago. Yeah. And it's just because you go into the X Factor and you win the X Factor, that doesn't make you an artist. If anything, it makes you, I don't want to say that, but yeah, I feel like we're getting into very controversial, into a very controversial chat here.
I don't mind controversial, waters, because I feel like that needs to be said, and I feel like today people are a bit too careful what they have to say. I'm thinking about the amount of things I have to be careful about. I'm like, but then you end up, under the guise of in the name of inclusivity and freedom of speech, you can't say anything.
I think this is kind of the way that I think, taking both of your points, like it is.
Sam has been very quiet for a very long time.
Just been thinking about what I was going to have for dinner. But yeah, so it's like a necessary function of how we've all come to be now. Where before when I was growing up, like 90s, early noughties, the artists were on a different plane, like you were saying, right? So it is you don't see them, you don't hear them unless you deliberately go for it, or you so happen to be so lucky that they happen to be around, blah blah blah. We used to call them stars, right? So they're somewhere up there. We're lucky enough to kind of see them, and people who are ambitious enough to want to be there are working in a different kind of way to get there, right? So the change, there's so many factors to this, but we are now in a place where the same stars that would be considered stars previously, the way that I'm referring to, are on YouTube doing TikTok, doing this, and actually suddenly more accessible in a way that is more akin to the way that anyone can be accessible now, right? So we all get our phones out, we do our TikToks, we do our Instagrams, whatever. God, I sound like such an old man saying that.
We do our TikToks.
Cloud, yeah.
We do our TikToks.
Yeah, Jesus. Bloody hell. Yeah, so it's not going to bode well for me. But I guess the point is that we all are able to do these things. So inherently and necessarily, we are now on the same plane. That by that very virtue.
Yeah.
Now that you may not like that, I'm not saying I do, but it is something that probably has opportunity to it.
Yeah.
That I wonder where that kind of stuff is going.
Well, I think it's definitely, it's always, you always have a duality. Okay. So when I say that, I think you've hit the nail right on the head. So it is accessibility is the thing. Like in the 60s, if I wanted to know what Aretha Franklin had for breakfast, I'd have to be the cook who made it for her.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what she had for breakfast.
Yeah, it's the mystery.
And I don't think about it. And like, I don't think about that now. So for example, Tori Amos is my favorite artist, along with like Richard Ashcroft and a bunch of other people. And when I think about it, I don't particularly care who they're married to or what they had for breakfast or what their kids look like. Truth is, I just never really, I haven't grown up to be conditioned to thinking with that level of accessibility. Yeah. I love their music. I love their albums. They mean to me whatever they mean to me. And I don't necessarily know how they wrote it and what exactly they meant when they wrote every single word that they did. But I take it and I make it my own thing. And a lot of times you will ask artists and you'll see it in interviews. They'll tell you things like, it means whatever it means to you. I don't know. You take it and you make it your own. And that's partly what art is. And maybe, you wrote it about your dog and someone else can view it as their wedding song and then someone else will take it for their funeral, whatever. And that's art. That's a rolling thing and it can mean so many things to other people. But I think the positive to this, to state that, and a lot of people from 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s will tell you, it used to be very much this glass ceiling. You cannot break through the market unless you have, the radio, the DJs on your side or the label on your side. And now you can literally do it with an iPhone. Oh, hi guys, I'm blah, 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 I call it the hey guys community. Like, hey guys, how are you? Like and subscribe.
I'm going to do it in that voice next time. Yes. Yeah.
I would like my voice if you want. That could be the opening for your show. Like, hey guys. Oh my God, like and subscribe. I'm so happy you're here.
Right, so Callie's baked today. Excellent. Right. Yes, good. Wow, good.
Hilarious. I think I might be one of the only musicians I know. I know a few, but I think I might be one of the only ones who never, no drinking, no drugs, no getting baked, no nothing.
Lie. Sounds like a total lie.
You could check me in on that. I will take a lie detector.
How am I supposed to check you on this? What?
Lie detector, blood test, whatever you want. You could ask anyone that knows me ever. I'm very reliable on this particular point.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I mean, obviously, we touch upon a few controversial topics, which are very interesting.
Callie being baked. Yeah.
Well, that's one of those.
And that's the comedy for me. I'm like, even just the thought of it, I'm like,
oh wow. But I think what is one of the few interesting things about your path and your journey is how, let's track back a little and see where and when did this pursuit first started? What triggered it?
I don't know that there was one thing that triggered it. I could tell you, I remember from a very young age, it's such a boring cliche answer, but from a boring age. Good luck editing
that's where
this.
It's true.
It's true. From a very boring age of 60, I started going backwards. And Benjamin buttoned it. No, good luck editing this. This is going to be a real treat.
I'm keeping some of this stuff in just for,
just for context, just for in random bits. I'll answer your question though. I always was very interested in music. I was glued to the television. I'd watched a lot of stuff. I had a double tape cassette. I would record stuff on it. I'd always want to hear stories. My parents would read stories to me at night, and I would make them read it out so much that they had to get creative. And they went, you know what? We can't do 3 hours of bedtime stories. Here's what they recorded themselves for me reading out stories, and they put that on the double tape cassette. And they would say they would hear me rolling this and kind of flipping up the tape to 1, 2 a.m. when I was a kid, when I was a very young, very, very young little toddler. And so I was always interested in storytelling. And then, communicating and music and that kind of thing. I remember when Michael Jackson came to Israel in 1991, I think it was, and I was 6. And I was like, I harassed my mom. I said, you have to take me, you have to take me, you have to take me. And then she did. And then we went with a very tall friend of ours. And I was like, you have to put me on your, I couldn't say anything. I said, you have to put me on your shoulders. And he did for the whole show. He must have wanted to kill me, but, but he did it. And, I was just always really obsessed with live music, with music in general. And then I was about 8 or 9. And I asked where I could start, taking vocal lessons. I really wanted to. And my mom, she didn't have any particular sway to one point or the other. She just kind of asked around. She said, where could she start taking music lessons? And some people referred her to the music conservatory. So that's when I started. And I started with opera. So it was quite classical route. And I knew that I wasn't about to be an opera singer. That was never my plan or my intention, but I just thought, okay, great. Is this how you learn how to sing? I'll take the tools from here for whatever I need, and I'll apply it on other things, anything that I'm listening to. And as I grew older, that influence kind of, I gathered influences. I started really being into jazz and Ella Fitzgerald. And then when I was 13, I kind of really got into Tori Amos and that whole vibe. And I was about 14, 15 out of my best friend who's like a total metalhead. And he sent a lot of rock and grunge my way that I absolutely loved. And so it was a lot of mixed influences. And I would play things like, for school and school bands and end of the year, whatever ceremonies and stuff. And so people knew that I sang, and I was always interested in that. And I was 15, and a serendipitous way, piano arrived in I made it arrive, but I basically, someone asked me if I wanted to, and it was because they were moving and the piano didn't fit. There were a few inches missing from the thing, and the piano couldn't fit in the doorway, and they were like, we don't play it anyway. Hey, do you want it? And I was like, and I called my mom. I said, Mom, can we have a piano? I barely had room for it. Then the piano was the entire room, basically. And I said, can I have it? And she was like, you won't have room for anything else in your room. I'm like, I don't care. So, okay, you can have it. And then that's how I got the piano that I still have. It's back in my house. But so that's kind of how I got started, and I always loved it. I never saw myself doing anything else. I never gave any kinds of damn about anything in school. I just went, okay, I'm going to do music. This is for other people. I don't care, because I'm going to make music. And when you make music, no one cares about what's your biology, whatever score. You're either good and people go, yay, or they'll throw tomatoes at you. And that was it.
That was it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You talked about, you gave us a couple of stories of things or moments that kind of particularly inspired you. So, I guess this maybe this question isn't necessarily the right one to ask, but it feels like the right one to ask. So obviously I saw you at a show where I was taking
you
photos.
You saw me at a very special particular show.
and that was it was a special and particular show, but it was freaking awesome.
Thank you.
It was absolutely freaking awesome, right?
Thank you.
So I'm trying to now draw the dots between that, the girl who's just squeezed a piano into her house, to someone who's standing on, a theatre stage with some absolutely what I consider to be world-class musicians.
They are. They're amazing.
And doing an inch perfect Amy Winehouse rendition plus your own songs.
Thank you.
And having audience members next to me in tears. So how does that happen? How do you get from piano playing to that?
Okay, so I don't know how that happened exactly in terms of their tears. Throughout that show, yes, Amy's music is quite emotional, but I was surprised also. I had quite a few people write to me later, as well as people I didn't know, who told me they were in tears and they were very emotional. And I was like,
I saw it firsthand. Yeah. I don't cry, so I had no idea what they're actually doing. But yes.
I don't have emotion per se. I am aware of other people who have it.
It's a thing I'm told of. Yeah.
Okay. So, I'll draw some dots in there. So like I said, I always had a lot of various influences, and I still do I like to walk the balance between different genres. I do perform a lot of different genres and coach people on very, very different things. So I love rock, and I love jazz, and I love my own style of music. And it's for me, music is the same thing. It's a living, breathing organism, if you will, and not so easily boxed in. And so I kind of did my finals when I was in school with opera and with some classical stuff and some jazz. I then for years wanted to move to England, and I kept kind of like visiting, coming in and out. And then I finally, when I was 25, I did some world traveling and things. And then when I was about 25, I moved. I went to music college in London, and I loved it. It was very hands-on and it was very practical. It was the experience I wanted to have, as opposed to something that's just a lot of like a degree filled with theory and stuff. I wanted to get a very practical experience. The school was ICMP in Kilburn. I found a very cute flat that was across from the school. So on my coffee breaks, I literally would go home, make myself a cup of coffee, come back. There's a running theme here with coffee. But I loved it. It was really a great experience into the London music scene. And I knew I wanted to do that. When I was 15 and I got the piano, I started kind of just improvising really badly on it. It was shocking. I had a shared wall with my sister, and she would be like, bang on, be like, enough, stop it. She literally, I think I killed her. Shout out to Rami if she's listening. And I apologize. But so I kind of was always on it, trying to like figure out what it is I want to say. When I was 20 something and I was in New York, I recorded some kind of EP. That was my first kind of more real recording. It's not online or anything. I just have it. And I mean, it used to be online. It used to be on MySpace.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
MySpace.
Good old MySpace. And so I think I just gathered a lot of experiences from around the world. Like I've lived in a lot of, I've lived in Australia and in New York and in, LA. Hated LA. Awful place. Don't go. Do not recommend.
Yeah, I've got my own story about LA, but yeah, carry on. Yeah.
That's where I got it. Like, hey guys. Yeah. We should hang out. We should be friends.
No, mine was more about the transit in the airport. But anyway, yes. Yeah.
That too. The transit, awful.
Yeah.
So, but like so I gathered a lot of different, but I loved some of the music friends I made there, and some of friends, I have some long life friends from there. And so, no diss, no shade on them. But I think for me, I always knew that I was going to make music, and I just had to figure out how and when to do it. And then when was this? This was 2014. I finished and released my album, Flying Through Water. And that album has, some of some songs are like normal songs. Some of them are more instrumental tracks that I always envisioned going on a movie somewhere. Because it's like I really think in images and in cinematic kind of tracks. My dream is to eventually do like some kind of movie score for other people. I'm somewhat obsessed with like movie scores and Hans Zimmer and things like that, and like the piano soundtrack for the movie The Piano. And so things like that really influenced me. I recorded that album, which is filled with very, ethereal piano, emotional type of music, I would say. And so songs that I would think, some of them could be radio friendly, some of them not so much. And I understand it. It sits in its own kind of world and its own sort of niche. But it's music that really speaks out to me. I never once sat down to like write a hit. Let me see what the kids might like, or let me see what I feel could go on BBC One, and let's do that. I wouldn't know really how to start doing that. That's not my bag. And like you said, there is music for every purpose. Like sometimes you are in a club, and I love 90s parties. 90s parties have a lot of very silly pop songs, like I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Okay, I love that song.
Nothing silly about that.
I mean, you're like, I take Barbies very seriously.
Cultural icon, but yeah, okay. Yeah.
Totally, cultural icon. And I think great that there's silly music that is fantastic, and there's new artists now, new pop artists that are immaculate. They're amazing, phenomenal songwriting. What's her name? Chappell Roan, who's a phenomenal singer, nuts out of her ass. Like she's just, I honestly disagree with maybe 100% of the things she has to say, but the music is really cool, and she's such a phenomenal singer, vocalist. Sabrina Carpenter, really, really good and entertaining. So there's lots of new pop things that I think are really good and probably will stand the test of time. And I go, okay, they have a vibe, they have a personality, they have a message. I'm cool with that. If something has a personality, even if I don't get it and I don't like it, I go, okay, at least it is what the thing is. In the same way that like, whatever, Richard Ashcroft and the Verve are like, they are what they are, and you can like it and you can not like it, but you're never kind of wondering, oh, I wonder if someone wrote that for him. Oh, I wonder if this is like a puppeted type of thing where a label came up with it. You can tell clearly.
You choose the weirdest example. Bittersweet Symphony and the whole controversy with that. Who the hell wrote that, Cali? Who did?
No. Richard Ashcroft wrote it. No, this is the most controversial correct answer
Oasis as an example.
My sleeves are rolled now, and I would go to great lengths to defend Richard Ashcroft.
Right.
He's one of my favorite artists ever. That song is 100% his creation. He took something that's more like a riff of something, whatever. If you listen to the original song, it sounds nothing like it.
Does it not? Okay, we'll tell the lawyers that.
It sounds nothing like it.
Tell the lawyers that.
It's what?
Tell the lawyers that.
Well, that's the thing. It is the lawyers. It is just the lawyers. It's got nothing to do with it. Well, I think Ed Sheeran, he won a very similar case where it was like, oh, this is a copyrighted music, and you go,
I vaguely remember that.
It's not. It doesn't sound anything like it. Every music, you could argue every music. All of it is stolen or ripped from one another. Like, okay, you can't register like a chord sequence or a certain, there's a limit to how much you could do that. It's like, what if I'm painting a vase, and then you're like, well, someone else also painted a vase, so you're like, okay, how many pictures or paintings of a vase can you have?
There are lines that you draw, and I guess that
I draw a line in the sand on Richard Ashcroft. Absolutely not.
Disclaimer, like Richard Ashcroft my heroes, right? I mean,
start with that. The 90s that is your opening.
90s Britpop, like Oasis, I live and breathe. I don't go a day without hearing an Oasis track.
Really?
Right? So absolutely. Wow. Never since I was like 7 has that been the case. So
what?
It's like, but it's just funny like that. I sort of that because that stuff's it's like resurfaced a little bit again.
Yeah.
I was like, really, we're on this again?
Absolutely we are. And I'm like, winning. For me, that's a win for music. Because I think if something is really good, it'll stand the test of time. In the same way that Aerosmith and Stones, some bands have been traveling and gigging for, 80 years, or whatever, not 80 years, but a long time, several decades, surely. And they've been touring and gigging for decades with hits that people still connect with and still react to. I would honestly go down in history books writing like Bittersweet Symphony is one of the best songs ever written. Correct. And I've recently seen an interview. I don't know when he gave this interview, but saying something about like the money, the dispute with the song. And he's saying the song is about the song. In an ironic way, it's a bittersweet symphony. That's life. He wrote one of the biggest songs ever. And he doesn't see the money. You're trying to find he's trying to find some money. Then I don't know how he did it. It's like so meta. He wrote a song within a song. I've been so obsessed with it that recently I did a gig. I did an Amy Winehouse show with my guitarist, Robin. I suppose we haven't really touched on that. Well, oh my God. We'll get into that.
To be fair, it was a question I asked, but you've gone on some weird rant about stuff. But yes,
this is Tantrum City.
I was kind of hoping that would be the answer to it, but yeah,
absolutely. No, this is Tantrum City. But see, when it's not unscripted and you just go into it, like this is like I call it run City Central. You do like vocal runs. So this is my vocal run tantrum. So essentially, with Robin, who's my guitarist, who's Robin Banerjee, he was Amy Winehouse's original guitarist, and he's fabulous.
Street cred times 1,000.
Absolutely, yes. And I forget about that because we've been mates and playing together for 12 years, and I kind of forget about it sometimes.
I feel like you should have started the podcast with that, but okay, fine. Yeah, all right.
We can do. I'll pretend like I'm sitting down. Hey guys, how you doing? What's up, boys? Right, so you know how I play with
Robin Banerjee. He's my mate. He's my best friend.
He's a lovely guy. He's lovely. So I feel though, like because I've been so obsessed with this thing, even in my show, in my Amy Winehouse show, where I do talk about her as an artist and about her creative artistic integrity, which is, again, something that really sets her apart and would set her apart in an age like this where everything is very filtered and goes through a publicist. And she was the most unfiltered person in the world. And she couldn't survive it. She didn't survive that experience. It was so overwhelming. And I cannot even begin to put myself in her shoes. She had so many issues and addiction and but it was really difficult. And she didn't survive that climate of uber speculating and people really going in to the minutiae and really digging into her life that was so overexposed so much. But so we ended up doing I dedicated that to her, and with her artistic integrity and stuff, I said I would like to now depart from the Amy songs and do a cover for a song that I really love, which is an Oasis song. And then I segued into a 5-minute chat about Oasis and Richard Ashcroft, as I'm doing now. And and then we did a cover of of Wonderwall that I kind of stumped Robin with, and I told him about it the night before. I said, hey, can we do this? And I sent him a specific version I wanted to do. I do my own version of Wonderwall. It's quite different than the original. That's one of my pleasures in life, is I take the song and I break the shit out of it. I really change some of the chords and the melody and whatever, and I make my own version. So we did that. It went down a treat. People loved it. So, okay, the Amy Winehouse shows. I'm getting around to it. So in 2013 or 12, I met Robin Banerjee at a jam night in Camden. How very serendipitous. He does hang out there a lot. And so I met him there, and someone had told me who he was, and I came up to say hello, and we did a song together. We did the song that I open all of my Amy shows with, which is Stronger Than Me. That was Amy's first single that she released in 2003 from her album Frank. And so we did Stronger Than Me, and we really gelled super well musically and personally, and we became friends. And then I brought him on a tour in Israel, and then we started working together when I was back in London. And so we've done a lot of collaborations over the years. And then certainly in the last sort of like 6-7 years, we've been working together a lot in various shows. So like we do Amy Winehouse. I call it a homage rather than a tribute. It's not a tribute show because I don't try and be her. I don't pretend that I am her. I don't try to sing like her. There are some similarities, I suppose, in our features and whatever, but I don't try and put on her tattoos and, do exactly her. I put on an eyeliner and I do my hair up a little, but that's pretty much it. And then I like to do my own renditions for it, because it's very jazz. The material is very alive, breathing and alive. And I love it. So that's a big part of my life, those Amy shows.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, and it is, it was just something like else watching it. So there are certain, me and André have done podcasts for a little bit now, and there are some times that we reflect and you just think, oh man, I probably should be taking a photo at some point rather than just being mesmerized by this. And you just, shut a button. Okay, yeah. So, but some of it was just it kind of left you feeling energized and inspired to kind of want to just do something with that event that you've just witnessed. So one of the things that was really cool about it, from my perspective, was when you and Robin were talking about the songs, how Amy came to do some of these things, and particularly from Robin's point of view, when he's saying, this is how it came to be. Yeah. I was there, like living and breathing it, and he's so articulate with how he kind of presents these things as well. So you're just like, I kind of want you to read me bedtime stories.
I totally said that.
So it's just, but it's just so, it really grips you in the moment. And I think that's, the people in the audience I could see, crying and things. That, I'm sure that had a huge part to play. The play that it wasn't just seeing you perform. It was seeing an event. It was seeing a show in the traditional sense of a show, not just song.
Yeah.
Done.
That's something that's, I'm really happy to hear you say that, and that's great feedback. That's good for me to know. I do get that feedback sometimes, and I love it, because I want to put together a show, an evening, and make it an experience. And I think what makes it memorable, and not just like, it was cool, it was good. Yeah. And then you're sort of actively forgetting it as it's happening. When you watch something, you go, this is cool. All right, I have no further, no further questions, Your Honor. Like, there's nothing else going on. And so, but I try to make it so that it is any show that I do. I have like another show, this Jazz Divas. I'll try and, this is again the storytelling element, I'll try and weave in what this song is, ground people into the intention of the performer, the time, the story behind it.
Because you know what that does, right? That comes back to what we were saying before about in the Never Never Land long ago, where stars were stars. What you're doing in that moment, and particularly in somewhere like, Chequer Mead where you're playing it, right? So that theatre space, the kind of the almost amphitheatre vibe it had, is you're transporting people to a different world for that hour or two or however long it is. So it's not, therefore it can't just be a case of let's just whack out the songs.
Yeah.
You have to add an element to it that is, let's take you along this journey. It's like watching anything in a theatre. You're watching musical theatre, you're watching plays.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be, if it's done right, you are supposed to be right there alongside the performer, in their shoes, feeling what they're feeling, seeing what they're seeing, and being inspired in the same way that they are. And that's where I think, yeah, why the hell have I not heard of you before, number one? And why are more people not doing this?
True, I agree with you. I would say that England actually is really good for that kind of cultural exchange, like the storytelling. People are very interested. I think there is a good culture here of people who are quite savvy and able to hold their own in a conversation. And in performance-wise as well, I'd say that the performance here normally, a lot of the times, they'll have good chat. There'll be a good interview. There'll be a good sort of in onto it, whether they're like, actors or singers or whatever. A lot of the time, the English way, I really respect that. And that's partly why I moved here, because I thought, okay, the music market here has a lot to offer. In terms of why you haven't heard of me, I suppose it's because I haven't tried very hard to be famous. I value what I do. I like it. I like, my style of music or how I sing. I spent a long time crafting it. I've been singing now for, hold on to your hats, 31 years.
Gross. I mean, oh, wow. Sorry.
Gross. Totally disgusting. It's like, ew. But it's a long time. It's a long time. And so sometimes people, maybe they don't realize exactly where I've come from or what my age is or what my experience has been. And then they'll ask me, oh, how long have you been singing? I don't know what answer they'll expect. But I'm like, 31 years. Even I can scarcely believe it. but I think the reason why, there's certain routes that you could take when you get into this business. And I thought that it would be more conclusive for me, better thing for me to really take my time with the music and make sure that the shows I do are good. And part of it was also had some whatever in the last few years had an annoying medical issues. But other than that, yeah, it's always been a route where it's more important for me to that personal connection with people. And now I'm working on getting the shows to be bigger, better, and to reach a wider audience. Absolutely. That's something that's important for me. And also with my own music, making sure that it's, recorded and getting it out there to the masses. And I would love for the music to find a home and be very well known. I will say it's not so important for me. I'm not looking to have people again, a lot because of the comment section phenomenas, and that's kind of a wider umbrella name for lots of different things, for people really meddling and having a lot of very dark observations on you and nitpicking things and making shit up and whatever. For me, it's less important to be a persona and a celebrity than it is to actually get the music out there. So I do know some friends of mine who walk the line very well, where they're famous enough and they're successful enough where they get to do their thing and be rewarded for it and be very much, both on the artistic, gratifying, satisfying level and also monetizing it, etc., but also not too famous that they can't walk down the street.
Yeah.
And that is something that I aim towards for sure.
I think
Does that answer that?
Yeah, well, I guess.
I mean, we got there eventually. Yeah. Bloody hell. I feel like I asked that question 25 minutes ago, but sure, yeah.
Are you saying I talk too much?
I feel like the artiste has got to your brain. That's why I feel like.
Artiste.
He is an artiste brain, isn't it? He is definitely an artiste.
No, but yeah, jokes aside, that's it's great to hear that, one of the best things about talking to people like you is hearing that journey take such an organic flow to it. It all makes sense, but in a way that you have pushed and crafted that. You know? That you've made that journey. So it's of course you went from this to this to this. It all makes sense, but that's a lot of vision and direction to do it. And I guess then, from another point of view, I guess, or another thing that might be interesting to hear is, have you had any setbacks, any challenges or things that didn't go right, or elements of, hey man, I wish this went a different kind of way?
Yeah, loads. I mean, there have been, but it's not again, it's not like I have regrets about those things. It's just, life happens, and how it is what it is. Everyone has barriers, and it's kind of how you take it and how you do it. I would say a big barrier was the visa issue. I've for years had to like travel in and out of the country, and knowing that there's a music hub in here that I like and that I love, and kind of stabilizing myself here and having to keep on going in and out. That was really difficult. And then eventually getting like an artist visa, that was a very satisfying moment, because you get like a proper thing from the UK Arts Council that says, I think I told you, like on my passport, it actually says exceptional talent. I have a stamp on my passport. It says exceptional talent from the UK. And I'm like, that blew my mind. I looked at it and I went, like, what? That's... And
did people ask you about that when you were immigration? Like, no. So what is your exceptional talent? Like, can you juggle fire? Is that it? I don't. Yeah.
They never asked me that, but it is a thing where like you used to like talk to a customs person, and now it's more like you swipe it and a thing. So no one asked me now, but they did used to.
I'm surprised you don't pretend that the electronic thing isn't working. Oh no! My passport won't scan. I need to go and talk to somebody.
Do you want me to tell you what my exceptional talent is? And I just wear like a badge, exceptional talent, passing through, exceptional talent.
That's right. Upgrade me to first class, please. I'm
Exactly.
an exceptional talent.
I've never tried to do that, and I should.
I feel like people. I'm just going to share this with Gatwick Airport.
I think we
make
should,
sure they don't let you get away with it. Yeah.
I thought you were going the other way.
You're mean. You're a meanie. I feel like this should absolutely.
That's my exceptional talent. Damn it.
To be mean.
Yes, absolutely.
To be mean.
Yeah.
So some of the setbacks have been that. Sometimes the setbacks are that money is a big thing about it, because sometimes you want to do certain shows, certain projects. You want them to look a certain way and sound a certain way, have a certain quality, and you need backing for it. You need finances for it. And then you have to, like all these shows, for example, that show, it takes, a theater gig or anything that's a bit more higher scale. You have to put in some money before you see the money back. And if you're doing it on your own as an independent artist, that's a big barrier. That's a huge thing. Yeah. Particularly that show, I was stunned to have gotten some of the feedback I did, because I told you this behind the scenes, because you by the way, you took such amazing photos on the day. Thank you. You did. Your photos were killer.
Appreciate it.
They were stunning, and I loved it. And thank you so much. It was such a win that we even got you, because I spoke to you like 8 p.m. the night before, because someone recommended you, and I was just like, I was drowning in so many other things that I had to do, and I realized I didn't get a photographer, and I, like I said, already put in so much money. I thought, it doesn't matter, whatever, because I already had a show reel and other things from other gigs. I thought, do I really need more photos? I already have so many. Then I thought, you know what, this is a nice theater show. It'd be nice to get photos. Then I, called you, and I was like, okay, cool, did it. And you were so nice, and like, okay, let's just do it. And then we set it up, and you took the most stunning photos. And even on the night of, I like posted it because you sent me the photo like maybe 2 hours or something after we had wrapped the show.
Yes.
I don't know how you did that.
Yes.
But that was amazing.
Yes.
And it was such a phenomenal shot, because you suggested it. You said, okay, why don't you stand in front of the theater, and you can insert the photo here. And like, it's such a great photo, and it was such a great idea. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
That was fire. And I mean, not literal fire, but in the theater, we were like, fire. But I think like that barrier is sometimes bridging that gap between you and where your audience is, and keeping your game face on, being authentic in the moment, but also being aware that the audience is there for an experience, for a show. Yeah. And this happens sometimes, and that's showbiz, and that's life. Where, like we had a lot of sound issues that day. We had a lot of technical barriers with the theater. They were being very difficult, very unreasonable, and have been for months after. They were like unbelievable.
Just to make it clear, Chequer Mead, I have no problem with you. If you want to hire me as a photographer, I'm more than willing.
Oh yeah, you can hire him.
Don't ever use Cali again, but yes. Yeah.
I will never say. I will never set foot in that place again. I say that. I will set foot in there to watch other people, but I will not myself be.
Controversial. Now that I've just got you banned from this.
They'll come in like, come to escort me like, ma'am.
No, exceptional talent.
Yes! That's when it will come handy. You know what? If they've seen my show and they don't think I'm an exceptional talent.
Wow, there it is. It's on my passport.
It's on the passport.
Oh,
Damn you,
just
you
the
bastards.
neck strain from the diva moves.
I know, right?
Yeah.
The next thing from that would just be walking around with a passport thing. He'd be like, I guess I got a new jewelry. No, but so like that happens sometimes where you have to battle it out. And so as I'm singing, I'm editing my kind of vocals live on the mic because I'm aware certain sound issues were happening that were changing things up. And so I thought, oh God, but I've worked so hard to get to that moment. It's an 8-piece band. It's a whole big theater production. I will be more upset with myself if I then, because of those things that are happening backstage, the show will suffer. So at that point, you have to just put all that aside and deliver something good.
It's such something I really didn't appreciate until I think we had a conversation afterwards that really kind of struck me as of course this would make this 10 times harder for you, which is that, I kept saying to you guys during the show, hey, look, the sound, I don't know, I'm sure you guys are having sound issues, but no one else is. Like, we're hearing this and it's sounding great, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, hey, look, I could pick up on a few things that are not quite right, but nothing of any detriment to what was going on. Yeah. But just from, and again, like it follows on so naturally from what you're saying. It didn't strike me until we spoke about it that actually, of course, that's going to affect you massively because you've just, as you've been explaining, you've put a whole heap of effort, your own sort of finance, everything into making this the amalgamation of your vision of how you want the show to be. And anything that goes against that or creates a grain that you're working against to create that exact perfect moment, it's going to hit you 1,000 times harder than anyone else who's just like, hey man, it just sounds fine. It just sounds great.
It's fine. And you go, I'm not aiming for fine. I'm aiming for stellar.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that people in the audience did think it sounded stellar.
They don't know the difference between.
I mean, you're not going to have people in tears if it's rubbish, right?
Yeah,
so it's or just okay.
Yeah,
So
but that's also a huge testament to the musicians I was working with. They were phenomenal, super professional, super proactive. They got involved. They understood that there was kind of an emergency thing happening. Just to give people who don't know, we were supposed to start 7:30. At 7:15, there was still no sound coming up from stage. This was very extreme. And this was the most extreme sound experience that we've had. It was just nuts. And so because there was some issues in the whatever. So, that put everything in stress. And the guys didn't have time to, I didn't have time to eat before. It was supposed to be a very different day than what it was. But then as soon as, you followed me around on that first set and took a photo right as I'm going on stage. And I remember okay, you leave all that behind. You leave all that at the door now, at the stage door. You have to go in and give people a great night and be connected to the material and stuff. But also the audience, because they were on fire, and this happened to me on Sunday as well, always, the audience will give you fire. Whatever energy they're giving you, you will give them back. And so as an audience member, you always want to be really present for the band you're watching, especially if you're very enthusiastic about it, because you will get that back 10 times fold. It always makes a huge difference. And if your audience is a bit like that, if they're a bit conservative and a bit, it makes it harder for you to gain momentum to really perform.
You have to really then bring that from within.
Yeah, and from a musician standpoint, which I'm sure you would know, when you have good, good sound, and you know that your sound is good outside in front of house, and also when you have good monitors and you can hear yourself, so much easier for you to then enjoy the music and tap into that and perform something beautiful. Like if you're playing a great instrument, if you're playing a great guitar or you've got a beautiful piano, it makes you better. It makes you a better artist and musician because you're enjoying your sound so much. So it's easier for you to, get it out there. And that was going to be.
Well, that's why I used to justify those really expensive guitars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's all justified.
Yeah.
It makes me better.
And the amps.
Oh yes. Of course.
Yeah.
Marshall only box.
And the cables. Hey man.
I mean, if you've gone to the trouble of getting a great guitar, you're going to get a great cable.
And the signal's going to get through gold-plated. Well, apparently that makes it worse.
Gold-plated?
Yeah, apparently.
Absolutely. Gold is the best conductor. Yeah. Best electrical conductor. You can only have gold-plated XLRs and jacks.
I'll let people know. Cool. Cool.
You can have the £10 one from Amazon, or you can have the 121.
Who's going to fund these gold-laden, fancy cables?
This is why we're not musician, Carl.
Yeah.
This is why we just say
failed.
This is why we failed.
Right, so Sam, you've invested in all this stuff, but what about your talent? Ah, damn it!
Oh, you need some talent too.
Should have spent
Who
more
needs
time on
talent
that.
when you have gold-plated cables, huh?
No, that's it.
Oh, sugar. But I mean, I think all of the, funding probably went on this room. You don't know, there's a lot of cameras around here right now and a lot of fancy equipment and the mics and stuff. It looks like a hell of a setup. It looks amazing. But that's probably why you're not doing music anymore, because you're like, right, well, I'm broke now. I'm just doing this. That's it.
That's it.
See, that kind of taps into a question that I actually have for you.
How much money do you have?
So when Sam was asking about regrets, what he meant was...
No, I kind of want to go deep.
Okay.
Growing up, we both shared that music experience. We obviously were really into music. And there are a lot of people out there that are into music. But there's a big difference between those people, and someone who's doing what you're doing. And I find it so inspiring, so fascinating, where you just have someone who started the same way. You got your piano in the house and you had that passion, but then you managed to transform that into what you do on a daily basis. How would you go from, I love music, I would love to have this passion, to, no, I am going to do music?
Yeah, okay. Excellent question. You need a lot of determination, resolve, and sort of an unshakable, ballistic missile kind of like zooming in on something in order to get it done, because it is hard. You'll have other people's opinions, criticisms, ideas, money. How are you going to, you have to support yourself. All these things definitely come into play. I have been very lucky that my family always understood where my, journey was taking me. I can't hear that sentence now and say it without sounding super wanky. It's just like, my journey. Come with me on my wellness journey. I can't even... I feel like
really, that's the line for you. Okay, fine.
No, it's not the line for me. But I'm saying I feel like that the word journey has now been completely plagiarized by people who are just like, guys, sell your retreat. Let's take you on a retreat. No, but okay. So to answer seriously, sorry, I've let us down another cul-de-sac.
I was trying to get a deep question in.
Wait, no,
Just something that grounded us. There's no grounding in here.
No. I'll derail it. I'll derail it back in. So, okay. I feel like you have to have you have to be very certain. You have to have a great deal of certainty. This is what I'm going to do. I have never even contemplated doing something else. And not more than that, it never occurred to me that there are people who don't know what they want to do or what they're going to do with their lives. Until I was in my mid-20s, my sister said to me something like that. And it never occurred to her either, because she's a chef. She's always loved cooking and baking. She was always very set on that since she was 4. And so we, in the house, I suppose, I never contemplated that. Maybe I'll do this or maybe I'll do that. I was like, from the time I could breathe, I only thought I'm going to be a musician. I'm making music. I'm doing it. I don't care how. I'm going to figure it out. And so I went to school. I did the thing. I went traveling. I had jobs. I came back. I funded that with, my parents helped me out a little for the recording of my album. Thanks, Dad. And, and I, had to work. We had a family restaurant. I worked in a family restaurant for a long time. I had to figure it out and get into any music project or work with any people that I felt like I really love what they're doing. I believe in that night or that line of music or that whatever. I kind of try to zero in on the things that I love and am passionate about. And when I was in London as well, I, for years, would go into every open mic night, jam night, this, that, and the other. Sometimes you'll go and it's awful. It's horrendous. And you go oh my God, I hate music. And then sometimes you'll go and you'll find real gold. And you never know until you're going to find something. And you'll find it through the performance circuit as well. Or someone says, why don't we collaborate on doing this? Let's do a show together. Let's do this, that. And it's so fun. And so I guess for me, it was never a question. I just knew this was what I was going to do. And then I had other kind of jobs and other things along the way to support that. And my family were always very supportive. And they were also very supportive of me moving, which is hard, because obviously I'm not from here and, I miss them and we you miss your family. But it's a choice that I made and will make and continue to make over and over again. And so I feel it's a choice that you have to make every day, all day long, all the time. And if you're willing to do that, you will pay the price, and you'll find a way to do it. If you're not, and you're not passionate enough about it, or you've had enough, you won't, it'll all feel like an endless chore, and you won't be able to. So on a spiritual level, on a technical level, that's kind of how I did it. I tried to have another job and do that. And now I also do vocal coaching, which is obviously financially helping me to fund my music. And I also do gigs, and I make sure that I am, remunerated and paid for the gigs. Because when you're starting out, you're very young, and this might be interesting for young people listening. People will want to take the piss, take advantage of you, And initially, when you're very, very young, you'll take whatever gigs you can get. Performing at whatever, like family event, pub down the road, great. As you kind of, you consider yourself more and you appreciate your own worth, you have to stand up for your own prices, because with music specifically, people have this idea that they're going to pay you in exposure. I'm like, I'm not paying my rent with exposure. I mean, that's a very different, okay. But like...
Well, I'm just thinking back to our first phone conversation where you haggled me down to my price.
Yeah,
but yeah, so...
I did.
All right, fine.
I absolutely did. But you know what? I absolutely did. But that was because I already had put so much money into this like theater show that I was I don't have any more money to put on.
And also, this guy could use the exposure, so...
Yeah. No, I didn't. I didn't say that to her. I didn't try to use that line. I didn't be like, oh, it'd be good for your exposure.
I'm just going to leave now.
That's true. But I think, honestly, I didn't pay very much. I think for the photos that you gave me and like how fast of a turnaround it was worth times 5 than that. And if I had that, I would have given you that. But I also know going into it, like I know what I can afford and what I couldn't. So I wouldn't have gone out to be like,
This is a joke, yeah.
I know. If only we were drowning in money. Yeah, but fully, like that bothers me, because I would like to pay, people that I work with, other artists, you and my other musicians as well. I pay them okay, but like if I really paid them what I would like to pay them and how much I appreciate and value their talent, I'd pay them times 5 than that if I could. I asked Robin how much they got paid when they were in Glastonbury with Amy. They got something offensive, like 250 pounds or something.
Madness.
Oh, wow.
Mad. Now, mind you, this was quite a few years ago. Still.
Yeah,
and that's what I said. But I said, even still, you would want to believe that musicians standing on a Glasgow stage are getting paid like...
Yeah.
But this is funny money. I'm like, I'm sorry. No, this is insane. So, there's always, that is a difficult thing. That's like a real part of life. And I feel like people need to talk about that more, because you do end up with conversations of like, but so with my musicians as well, like if I know that I can't pay them, I won't bring them on. If someone, let's say, asks for a private event and they want a certain band or whatever, and they tell me, oh, we only have, could you do it for like 500 for like, I don't know, a 4-piece band? I'm like, absolutely not. I cannot. I can come by myself, or I could, bring a duo and we'll do this amount of thing and you can up your price for that. But, life is expensive. And as an artist, you have to make sure that you are paid and remunerated per your time and per your gig. But there are passion projects or like Christmas parties with friends, or that I turn into like a proper production that I do for fun. Like I don't, for the love of it, for music, for my own personal thing. And there's no money involved in that. It's just because you love the art.
Yeah, that's your way of like, actually, that's part of you. Unwinding, that's part of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, I'm arranging now like my big birthday coming up, and I'm arranging that. And that's obviously just like, and it's going to have some music and some art, artsy things in it, because I'm artsy. So, but that's obviously not a money production. So that's kind of, how I would balance those things out. And I'm very lucky that I do work in music, and I do love what I do, and I love my students, and I get to hear them and help them, especially when it's like younger generation. So my students who are like, let's say 9 to about 16, 17, they're so young and they're shaping it. I'm happy for them that they have someone like me who lets them express themselves and find out and helps them unlock their talent. And I'm delighted by that. I'm a vocal nerd.
A vocal nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, man. I just think it's humbling to hear when people so honestly and legitimately follow their vision. Like, just
Thanks.
Brilliant.
It just that's it. It's just there's something so special about it. I don't
Thanks,
know
guys.
what it is. It's just like having that tunnel. It's like tunnel vision. It's either this or nothing. And I think, and I'm not sure about you, but it's like I found that recently, which is like when you do have that, and you stop thinking about everything else. Like, what if this doesn't happen? What if, we'll deal with it when it comes. Yeah, it's good to have a bit of planning and vision stuff. But I found that actually just by going, things just kind of happen.
If you build it will come.
It's really weird. But to see that in the music world where like you just like, no, this is what I'm doing and I'm not doing anything else and this is what I'm pursuing and here you are. Yeah. I mean, that's incredible.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I don't look at myself that way, and for me, like I said, I never considered an alternative or an option. So for me to then hear that from people like, wow, that's really cool. I'm like, oh, as if there was an alternative. I'm like, oh, it's cool.
It's that unwavering belief of like, you knew you were going to be able to do it, and you knew what your own capabilities were, and you knew what your own potential was.
I feel like that's just so much credit. Like, I don't give myself that much credit. I'm just saying, like,
but that is what you're presenting. I mean, ultimately, that's what that is the journey you talked about.
That's the only viewpoint that I have. I just never considered anything else. It wasn't like I considered and went, you know what? No, I'm gonna. It never occurred to me.
Yeah, and it sounded like you had a supportive environment that really fostered that, which is another really important thing that I'm sure played a massive part. Which is the stars aligned for it, which is great. So I guess we talked about where you've come from, where you've been, where you are. Mm-hmm. So where are you going?
This is a good question. That's a very good question.
That's why I ask it.
Where am I going? Well, in the next year or so, my plan is to finish recording my EP. I'll say a little bit about that. So that kind of is an amalgamation of different things I've been writing over the last few years. I got a very talented bass player who's a friend of mine to record on it. So they've already recorded their parts. And together in a studio with a drummer who I can't even believe I got. This is a guy named Jeff Dugmore, who's a Scottish drummer, world class. He played with like Robbie Williams and Tina Turner, all these people, and Richard Ashcroft. And I'm like, oh my God. And he's phenomenal. I know him through a friend of mine who was touring with him. And he was unbelievably sweet, and he did such a great job on the recording. He didn't have a lot of time to prep it, because he's a busy guy. And I said to him, hey, Jeff, do you want to do this project with me? And he was like, absolutely, Puppet, what you need? And like, he was so nice, and he showed up. And so I think for that, I owe it to them to like make sure these recordings see the light of day.
I would say you do, yes, I agree.
No, but that was on the day. On the day, we only did the bass and drums.
Sure.
And we were going to do like, we had limited studio time, and the rest was meant to be another day. And then I had a lot of health issues, life got in the way. And so I'm doing a lot better now. So I want to finish that and make sure that EP comes out this year. I want to promote it properly, and I want to have like enough finances where I can really put it online, tour it, get into that along with the balance of the vocal coaching. And I also want to create a platform that's a bit bigger for the vocal coaching, because I really enjoy it. It's not just like, a little thing that I do. Like, I love it. I absolutely get high off of it when my students are able to do something and I've given them like an ability, and I can hear them getting so much better and stronger. And like, if I take someone from like not able to sing a note to like, I can actually sing, and I'm performing at an open mic or a jam night or a family event or whatever, that moves me to tears. I feel like their mom. Some of them are double my age, and I feel like their mom. I'm so proud. So I want to take that and kind of leverage that into a bigger community and potentially like online courses and things like that. And so that's where I'm going with it. Mm-hmm. And also for the Amy shows, I want to put them in bigger and better theaters and make that show successful, because like you said, we offer something that is very unusual. It is, Robin is of a select few, like I said, my guitarist, who, has firsthand experience. That is such a scarcity of like being Amy's guitarist throughout the Back to Black tour.
There is only one.
There's only the one, and there's other musicians, who toured with her and who loved her. And she had her touring guitarist from her first album, Femi Tamawa, who's a brilliant guitarist. I've never met him, but he's brilliant. And so I think like Robin, when he tells his stories, and a lot of times he'll tell stories that we're unscripted on that. Like really, I have a general idea sometimes on what he's going to say, and sometimes I have no idea. Well, we just kind of go for it. And I've had to like work out a way to unlock him in a way to make it accessible and to make him relax, because he's a bit nervous speaking sometimes in front of people. He's like, I'm not really on the mic person. But then he is, like, when he gets comfortable, and he'll give you all these absolute gold nuggets and gems about what his time was with Amy and how they recorded the Back to Black video. And just insane stuff where I go, who knows this? Like you and maybe 2 other people know these experiences, of what it was like to work with her, with a living, well, not living, but with like an icon who's now gone, passed away from this world. And so I really want to get that across to people. But the inherent benefit of that and why I want to do that is because I want to encourage people to stick to their own path, have their own artistic integrity, have your own point of view. Amy was ferocious about that. Ferocious. And I think the world could use a little more of that, to have your own confidence, your own certainty in what you're doing, and go for it. And maybe it won't work out, but you know that at the end of the day, you've presented something that is a whole piece that you're very proud of, and you wouldn't have had it any other way.
Damn.
Drop the mic.
Drop that mic.
Don't drop the mic. I will not drop the mic. Their mics look very expensive. I'm not going to drop them.
They go flip the table. Oh, wow. Well, that was an experience. It was an experience. It was an education.
Yeah. What's your? Now I'm curious. Like, what's it normally like? When you say that was an experience.
It's just.
Well, no, this is the first podcast where we've had, first of many, but the first podcast where we've actually had an artist on. So, and of course, music is dear to our hearts, and it's great to. It's just been really cool to chat with somebody who's lived exactly the way they want to live with it. Yeah. That's it's just a fascinating thing, which. I mean, we've talked about this before. We had our own music, we had our own bands, whatever, and I've absolutely ferociously loved doing what I did. But it's just really nice to know that other people are as ferocious with it, but you are living and breathing it, which is phenomenal. And like I say, like when I saw you that first time, that was just an experience that. Yeah, I keep talking to people about and saying, hey man, this was like, I didn't even know this stuff was a thing, but check it out, people, please.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And you were so nice. The whole way that you handled that day, because we had, like I said, behind the scenes, like backstage, it was quite chaotic. And I said to you, could you come at 7? Great. And then you showed up and I was like still mid sound check of it not working. And I was like losing my mind a little bit, but trying to like... be zen about it.
Zen mode,
Zen, fake it till you make it. And then you were like, no problem, I'll wait it out, because I wasn't even dressed when I saw you. I at that point
I was
thinking
quite stunned. I was like, shit, you put some clothes on. Oh my God.
I just showed up naked in the theater. And I was just walking around like, check me out. Yeah. But I hadn't even changed at that point, and I was planning on like being changed and then going upstairs and like taking some photos with the band and then coming back down. I had all these fancy plans that never happened. And even at 7:30, you were like, okay, are you ready now? And you were so nice and you so got it. And you were so like a calming presence backstage, and my band as well. They were like, oh, he was lovely guy.
There you go. I'll take that. I'll take that as a Google review. Brilliant.
Absolutely. I gave you a good Google review as well. You were amazing. Your photos were amazing. Every aspect of dealing and working with you was like, you're not even paying me to say this, but like honestly, you were a delight to work with. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm wondering what it would be like if I had paid you. Bloody hell, that would just be like off the scale. It's like, this guy, he's on God mode the whole time.
Just God. And you told me that I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? That you're a doctor? I was like, what? I don't know if you want to mention that in this podcast. You can edit it out.
I've spoken about it on the podcast before.
Okay. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I haven't ever seen someone who's like, I'm a doctor and I'm an artist and a photographer, and my side hustle is that I'm a doctor.
It's kind of true. Yeah, it is a side hustle. Yes.
Yeah. That blew my mind. I was like, wait, what? It broke my brain. I was like, what? How is that possible?
It breaks my brain daily. Is what I'm going to say.
But that's unusual, right? I mean, I know I'm maybe not supposed to be interviewing you, but like, how do you even explain that to people? I mean, that floored me.
It is like, I mean, that's its own podcast episode in itself, I guess. But it's
to be continued.
Yeah, to be continued. But it's like, hey, the things that drive us take various different forms and shapes, and you've just got to find the thing that scratches that itch for you sometimes.
Yeah.
So the medicine, obviously that's what I did. That's where I went into. That's where I am. But alongside that was a parallel the whole time of being in a band, music production, media production, all of that, the imagery, the storytelling, everything. Now, I'm at a stage where, various situations and things happened around the music. I had, unfortunately, the drummer in our band passed away in a car accident, all of that. So I put a break to things, but then I still have that itch to scratch, right? So I can't just not do anything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything suddenly turns to grayscale. Like, well, what is the point? Like, why am I moving? Where am I moving? I'm just meandering around doing nothing.
Yeah.
If I'm not working towards something that's better than where I am now. And hey, man, medicine's cool. It is what it is, but I'm not going anywhere with it. Right. And I don't know that many people necessarily go into that career to want to go places with it. I mean, some do. Hey, man, like, you want to be the best of the best of whatever specialty you're in. Mm-hmm. Yes, we need people like you. Yeah, right. Yeah. But at the same time, that's a very defined path. Like, there's only one way that you're going to do that, or one thing you're going to end up being. And that's still confined into constraints of what you can do and what you can't do. Whereas the photography world, and anything that we do, anything that you do, in storytelling, in artistry, in passions that surround that, you can make that what you want, and you can build it into something way greater than where you are now. And I think I will always need that in my life. Yeah. In some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, I don't really see what I'm doing apart from meandering around, going nowhere.
Yeah, because you're an artist. Artists are meant to create. So if you're not creating on whatever level and whatever creative field artistically that, like you said, scratches that itch, then, I mean, you do feel like you're kind of, it's a need. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not, I feel like I shouldn't, it almost feels wrong to be credited with it. Some people go, wow, that's so amazing that you're making that choice, whatever. I'm like, what else would I do with myself? I don't feel like I have a choice. I feel like, not in a bad way, I just feel like I am what I am. People are like, it's almost as if someone would be like, wow, it's so amazing how brown your hair is. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's brown. I mean, it is what it is. That's it on a similar. In it. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, it is. This is what it is. It's brown hair, brown eyes.
Well,
okay,
but people are driven to do things in different ways and move in different directions. So I'm not saying that if I stay in, or people who stay in medicine or whatever are not going anywhere. Right. It's about the fact that their visions and plans don't revolve around their career, or don't revolve around, hey man, how many people are just like, I want to live with a family, have kids, see them grow up, and that satisfies me, that is my passion. Great. Like, wonderful. So then everything else then is just kind of, hey man, that's kind of stuff I need to do, but it's not what I'm driven to do. Yeah. But I am driven to make sure that works so I can do these other things I want to do, right? So I don't ever disparage or think anything other than, hey, we're all trying to make our way, we're all trying to get to somewhere. It's just, it may be your career, that's a thing, it may be your passion, that's a thing, it may be your family, that's a thing, maybe something else is special to you. But just always hold, like, what the example you're showing us is, hold that belief of where you want to be, and just don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Yeah. You want to be the best at this, do it. You want to be the best at that, do it. You don't fancy being the best at that, but you just kind of like doing it where you are because there's something else that is your passion somewhere else. Cool. Yeah. Nothing wrong with it.
And I would say, like, a healthy amount of tunnel vision. It's not always. Sometimes you do have to kind of like, okay, open your eyes to your environment, see where you are. But on that level, I think that probably did help me, not even realizing it. It wasn't like an aware choice at that point. And from such a young age, I just kind of, like I said, it was as natural to me as having brown hair. It's just, it's what I know. It's how it is for me, and it's never been any other way. But I suppose if someone maybe does have a little bit of doubt or whatever, I would say maybe embrace that kind of tunnel vision and go, I'm just going to do this. And you got to do what works for you as well. And I will say, like, it's difficult. And sometimes you got the barriers, you got other people's opinion, you got other things. And you also have the world judging you for a certain way. There's that quote, right, of like, as an artist, your life is not going to look like other people's, right? Your life isn't always going to look like other people's. And that's okay. that's fine. You have to just accept that, you know, my life isn't like married with 2 children and a dog and a fence and whatever. Like, that's not the life that I went for. There's nothing wrong with that life, but that's not what I am. And so had I gone for it, I think I would have probably felt somewhat trapped or wasted, or like there's something else in me that needs to get out. Yeah. And that's the choice that I make. And that's why I say, like, you have to choose that choice, keep making that choice every day. Otherwise, you won't be able to, like, you don't have enough to sustain that kind of lifestyle. And also with like social media now, I know we touched upon it a little bit in the beginning, but like, you know, that is a real beast of a thing, and you have to sustain that. And I feel like despite being, you can be the most talented artist the world has ever known, if you don't have now the exact savviness of promoting yourself through that particular jungle of social media, probably not too many people are going to find out about you. And so kind of that's another thing that's in the future, like stepping up my game in terms of like social media and things like that in order to reach more people, but to do it in a way that feels real to me. And that I feel is authentic to myself. And I think people do respond to that authenticity. That's a big card that you can play in. Because if you just go online being like, like and follow, subscribe, it's vacant and it's vapid, and people can see through that, and they're like, why would I follow? It's almost like begging for money. It's always like, give me money because I need it.
Give it 2 weeks. We're going to see her do that.
Hey guys!
No, but it makes it.
Come see my Amy Winehouse show.
It like makes it about you instead of about the audience and what you can give them. And when you're offering someone a product, even if you're offering them a show or a sweater or an experience, it doesn't matter. It has to be like, this sweater will give you what you need. Like, this will be the best sweater you've ever purchased, whatever. It can't be just like, look, I really need the money. Can you like buy the sweater? And then you go, If people have a natural aversion to that, they go like, I don't want the fucking sweater. Like, get it away from me. So I think, okay, you have to like work out a way that works for you. I do go online sometimes and tell people about my shows. Obviously you have to post it and tell people, but I do it in a way that makes sense to me, and not trying to be someone that I'm not, or try to force some other type of personality that's switched on for the camera. You see it sometimes. People like, are like, and then they'll switch on for like, wait, you know.
And then they die inside straight after the camera goes.
And be like, wow, you know.
Well, no, hey, look, nobody sees what happens when we switch these cameras off.
As soon as you switch every time off, I'll just go and be like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, you're right. I'm gonna.
Coffee, everyone. Where's the round of coffee? Sam.
Hey, look, man, I've got a nice coffee machine. Is all I'm going to say. I'm spoilt with that.
Well, living life could be said to be the greatest art form that there is. You know, how you live your life is the art form, and how you communicate.
Are you saying that life imitates art?
I'm saying,
Whoa.
Life imitates art imitates life. We all imitate the whole thing. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
That's the thing. I'm done now.
Wow.
Well, look, yeah, Cali, it was fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on board. So what's the best way for people to know more about you? Where should they go?
They should show up at my house, all of them together at the same time, and we'll have the best, rock concert of our lives.
That sounds incredible.
But
where's your
more
house?
Practically, yes.
Where do you live? Give me the exact address and location, pinpoint, and be like,
What 3 words?
drop a pin on it.
Yeah, please don't do that. Thanks. Okay, so
Life imitates art. Oh, okay, right, yeah.
The best way, I think, is to go on either my Instagram or my website. So my website is, calirivlin.com, just my name. And then Instagram, again, Cali Rivlin. I'm quite lucky that my name is, I think there's only one, it's a one-off as opposed to like a John Smith or something. So easy to find. So you can go on for all the updates, like Cali Rivlin.
Apologies for any John Smiths watching. She didn't mean to offend you.
I did not mean to offend you. Although, I mean come on, you can do a little better. John Smith.
Forgive her, she is baked. Forgive her, yes.
No, but I'm saying, look, if your last name is Smith, right, and your parents now have to name you, I think I'm going to go with John. Like, no, give them something. Give them something to hold on to.
That's why I'm called André Smith.
What's your last name, actually?
Smith.
What?
No.
You. What's your last name?
Zeferino.
There we go. You see?
If you could have just any first name, it would have been, whoa!
You could have been John Zeferino.
That's where we should have gone.
Your last name is Khan, which is a very nice name. Very good name.
It is a thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very memorable. I wouldn't confuse you with someone else, in the same way that people at Cali Rivlin, they're not going to confuse me with, like, I don't know, a Katie Jones or whatever. Again, apologies to Katie Jones. Okay. All right. We're done.
Yeah, we probably should have stopped the podcast some time back.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It was such a privilege to have you on and hear about your journey and your path and how you and just your vision towards like where you want to be, how you came to be where you are now. I just find the whole thing so fascinating. So thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. It's been
Brilliant.
a pleasure to chat with you boys. Woo!
Bang! There it is.
Smashed it.
There it is.